What were your feelings about the 2019 general session? Did you feel that you guys really got a lot accomplished? Do you feel there was a lot left on the table? Because next year is going to be a difficult budget year, and it feels like there's still a lot of things to tackle, like infrastructure funding and tax reform and pension reform and a lot of other big ticket items. Is that able to get done during budget session?
Well, I hope so, and there are some big ticket items, but I thought last session was quite productive, particularly with so many new members. Again, I think it's important to note, last term and then the term before, about 2/3 of the House at least, mainly are new members. And so for the scenario that we had, I felt like it was a very productive session. We were able to get the tax cleanup bill done, which was probably #1 priority for a lot of folks. And obviously from our caucus, numerous pro-life bills, which was huge. And so it felt like it was a very productive session. But like, as you said, big ticket items are still out there. Tax Reform 2.0, as everyone's kind of calling it, and other things. And there'll be huge challenges doing that during a budget year, but I'm confident we can do that. We'll have 60 days. Most of our members will have, kind of now got their baptism. They got their feet under them. They understand the process and they know what's going on. And I think they're ready to take on those challenges. So I'm very confident that we'll get those done. And again, some folks are going to say, well, November's elections are looming, et cetera. Reality is this, and it is politics, and in the back of your mind you think about those things. But I've always thought, and I think our members think this: if you do the right thing, elections will take care of themselves. So we just have to do the right thing by the Kentuckians, make the right policy decisions that benefit them, that continue to grow the state, grow the economy, create jobs, protect families, and we're going to do that. And regardless of the challenges that are ahead of us, I'm confident we'll get that done.
Everybody I've talked to so far about Tax Reform 2.0, as you called it, has talked about maybe an increase in the sales tax, either by a penny or I've heard 2 pennies now too. What do you think comes next for tax reform?
Well, I think everything's on the table, frankly, but I think whatever you do, for example, some are talking about this increase. If you do that, though, you're going to see a continued reduction in the personal income tax. I think we're going to trade it off for something. I think the goal from the beginning has been hopefully quite clear that we would like to lower the rates and expand the base. But I think everything's on the table. We're going to follow Chairman Rudy's lead. A&R Chairman in the House will now a lot. We'll have a lot of meetings over the interim on those issues. But that's certainly an option that I'm sure we'll get a lot of discussion. But at the same time, it will have to come in with a trade-off of again, lowering that personal income tax. So, I don't want to single out really one thing because I think everything's on the table. Obviously, vaping's an issue that has had bills filed in the past that I think will be another one that'll get a lot of discussion.
So outside of kind of the big ticket items that we've talked about, what do you see as kind of the focuses for 2020 session? What do you want to see get done in 2020?
Well, I think it's vital that we continue tax reform. Again, people have talked about it around here for decades. We have shown the courage that we're willing to do that. We did in the last budget cycle. We're going to continue to fund pensions. We're going to continue to fund education, contrary to what some people say, record investments in public education when you take in the pension contributions, which you have to. If you don't, I think you're being silly because, again, that is an employee benefit for people there. So record investments in that, we're going to continue to do those things. And for me personally, again, we're going to continue to push education reforms. We're doing great work with CTE, which I think is a huge workforce development, which is very important, I know, to you guys here at the Chamber. I'm really pleased with how that's coming along. But we have to continue to raise the expectations in the classroom for students and staff and for everyone. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So we're going to continue to do that. But tax reform, and then for me, again, these education issues will be key.
What are some of the particular education issues you want to focus on? Because now that tribunal reform is done, I know tenure reform has been talked about before, and I know there's principal selection, things like that. What is kind of the top priority heading into 2020? Well,
I think some of those will be back, I'm sure, and looking forward to having debate on those. I think school choice issues will still be discussed. I mean, they've been out there. Again, I think they'll be back somewhat. And graduation requirements has been a hot button topic. I think as more and more people are learning what those actual requirements are, I think there's more understanding, particularly among superintendents that I've met with over the summer and talked to. And I think, again, I don't think there's as much pushback now as there was in the beginning. And I think that's, if you really look into them, we're talking about an 8th grade standard on basic math and basic reading for a Kentucky graduate to have. And I think that's pretty reasonable, frankly. And if you can't obtain that, whether you maybe in a 504 or IEP student, there's other ways to do it. You can do some workforce hours and things like that. So there's some options there, and I think that's something though that we really need to try to help the commissioner and others get done, because again, I think we have to make it clear that there'll be standards in Kentucky, because when you go to the workforce, as you and I both know, there are standards there, and so a lot of stuff around workforce participation, which I think obviously education is a big part of. And then another area is, we talk about being the Gold Star state for foster care, and we've still got a lot of work to do on that. A lot of great people are putting a lot of great amount of time and resources into that effort, but there's still way too many hurdles and obstacles and too much bureaucratic work in that system, and we've got to continue to look at that. We've got so many families who are looking to help needy children, and we need to make it a little more efficient, and we certainly want to continue to make sure that that's done.